is the Business of Reselling podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Oman. Welcome, everybody, to the Business of Reselling. This is episode 55, and I know I've kind of moved away from the theme of like diving into the psychology and research behind a particular business problem that applies to reselling. And, you know, if you're a Canadian seller, this is for obvious reasons. We're in absolute turmoil as resellers north of 49 right now. With so much going on with the removal of the de minimis exemption, which happened at the end of August and threw all our businesses into total chaos, followed very closely by another Canada Post strike, which came out of left field for me. I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention to what was going on, but now another Canada Post strike, which is affecting resellers that don't have access to cross-border shippers and brokers like we do in the major cities, most of the major cities anyway. So things are pretty crazy, and I've been trying to keep up with it all and maintain a positive outlook. If you listen to my last episode 54, I was talking about how I was feeling kind of okay about the shifts that we were trying to make. I still feel like there's opportunity to be found somewhere in here. I can't quite see it yet, but there are some shifts that we wanted to make anyway in our business that we're now being forced to make, which is okay. Like things like getting back into local auctions and stuff like that. um, so so there's definitely some positive outlook that I can take, but it is really an emotional roller coaster. And I've been thinking about kind of the emotional and psychological effects of everything that's going on in our business right now, how it just affects my mindset, my sense of self, sense of purpose. It's really weird. I mean, we threw everything into this business, and it's been full time for us for like a decade, and it is completely part of our identity, you know? And it just feels so weird to have to make these shifts and wonder, are they going to work? Or are we going to have to somehow separate this idea of being resellers and finding gold in the garbage and all of that from like who we are, and find a different direction. So without getting too philosophical, I do want to jump into a little bit of a September update, what's going on in the business. This is the first full month we've gone through without de minimis, and I'm going to talk about how that's affected our business and just update you on some of the activities that we're doing to try and pivot. And I'm really starting to hate that word, pivot. Ugh. Well, I feel like this month had some positive moments for sure. But at the same time, I just feel like we're kind of running in the mud. Like, you know, it's just like sort of a break even, like trying to keep our heads above water kind of situation, which isn't that fun. And it's also not like super motivating. It doesn't make you want to get up and go to the warehouse every day and process things. It doesn't make you want to dig around in junk trucks. It doesn't make you want to go to garage sales and estate sales. When it's like, oh, so what? So that we can just, break even and cover our costs? Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's how it's feeling right now, and tomorrow could feel completely different, so who knows? Now, I did skip an update. I have been trying to get back on posting the podcast every 2 weeks on schedule, but I was actually really sick the last time around, and that was too bad because we actually had a bid rush auction ending the day that that podcast would have come out. I would have loved to have plugged that a little bit, but I will talk about it in this episode and what's coming up with us for bid rush as well. But I couldn't speak. So when you have laryngitis, you're not making podcasts. That's just how it is. So like I said, we broke even in September. Frustrating. I'm also grateful for that because I honestly didn't think we would. I thought things would be a lot worse. We were helped by a huge September 1st. Like it was really weird actually, like September 1st, because we spent like that whole weekend talking about like how are we going to change our business and what are we going to do? And it's going to be so terrible. And then on September 1st, we ended up making like $1,400, which is a pretty good day for us. Mostly on comic books because I had figured out very quickly comics printed in the USA would be tariff free. So I had popped all those back on on .com as quickly as I could, after taking all of our listings down off of eBay.com. And I guess it just triggered something in the algorithm. I don't know, but we ended up having this huge day selling mostly comic books. Um, so we were like, "Oh, maybe it's gonna be okay, maybe things won't be so bad." But sending the parcels was super stressful. So one of those orders out of all that 1,400 was 850 US. That was just one order. And that ended up being stuck at the cross-border shipper, which they said was stuck with US Customs for, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 days or something, and then I was finally able to retrieve it and take it over to use the other cross-border shipper, that we tend to use more, and it got through them within a couple of days. So, and in the meantime, the other 4 packages I had dropped didn't move for over 2 weeks, and every single day I'm talking to the CVS and they're like, "Oh, it's gonna move tomorrow." And then the next day they'd say, "It's for sure tomorrow." And the next day, "For sure tomorrow." And this whole time saying, "It's stuck in US Customs. They're inspecting every package." I was sympathetic. I know that everyone was trying to adapt to a new process, but, they really lost my trust with their poor communication. Like, the delays were inevitable, and I think resellers all accepted that, but being promised over and over again that the parcels would move when they actually didn't know at all if they were gonna move, became extremely frustrating. All the packages ended up finally getting through, but 14 days of being stuck in one place was pretty stressful for us, pretty stressful for our buyers who, of course, did not really have any idea what was going on with the de minimis removal. So that was frustrating, although it seems to have smoothed out a bit. And actually, our packages that we drop at Stallion, we don't have that many US sales anymore, but the ones that we do are getting through pretty fast. Like, there might be like 1 extra day delay, and it's not a big deal. I'm certainly not babysitting the tracking numbers. I'm letting everything go through. I don't see the point in stressing myself out with that kind of thing. If the buyers reach out to me because they're worried, then I'll look into it. Other than that, when I leave it there, I leave it there, and I just hope for the best. Other September sales, we had some Barbie stuff. So that was left over from, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, we bought this massive Barbie collection a couple of years ago, just before the Barbie movie came out. So the timing was impeccable. We have a handful of listings left from that, maybe 75 or 80 listings. Those I decided to focus on for whatever reason. It was just an easy category. Moved all those over to ebay.ca and some of them over to Poshmark. The packaged Barbies that we had left, I moved over to Poshmark and I sold every single one of them on Poshmark in September that we had left, which was pretty interesting. So that was cool. So getting rid of some more of that Barbie stuff and really paring that down felt good. There's clearly an appetite from Canadian buyers wanting to buy from other Canadians as well as in our currency. Um, that being said, it's not big enough to support a full-time income for most resellers, and certainly not, it's not going to replace every reseller's income in Canada. It's just the Canadian market just isn't there. There are international markets that we can try to reach out to, yes. But there's always going to be barriers there with the cost of shipping, the how long shipping can take, and the fact that, sometimes overseas buyers just don't want to buy from other continents for the same reason. It takes a long time to get there and it's expensive. And it surely isn't going to be enough, like pivoting to ebay.ca. I am working on bringing all of the listings other than the tariff-free stuff that I know about and the made in USA stuff, moving everything else over to .ca and cross-listing hats, clothing, and shoes and jewelry on Poshmark as well. Working through that very slowly, I know it will not replace the income we were getting from selling to the US. I mean, it's just unless we were able to procure a whole bunch of fantastic comic book collections and a bunch of GI Joes and action figures, which always sell super fast. If we could get our hands on more of that stuff, I would be less worried about it. But just the fact that it's hard to get those kinds of collections all the time, at least getting enough of them to sustain a business that brings in a few $100,000 a year, like it's really hard to get that volume of just those categories, which is one of the biggest reasons why we sell in so many different categories, because you don't always know what kind of inventory you're going to get. So we still have to find another way to supplement our eBay and Poshmark income. We also did well in September with an action figure collection that I had bought in the summer. One buyer picked up over $300 worth of figures, and we sold many other single figures. So that was great. I think that collection is about 80% sold, and the profit on it wasn't like insane. I probably did like three or four to one, maybe. Um, but it's there. It was easy. The project was easy. It took no time. I had somebody else photograph it and list it, so I didn't have to involve myself in it much at all. And so it definitely put money in our bank. On the plus side as well, we've done 2 bid rush auctions now with pretty good results. And our third is going to be live by the time this episode airs. So the link for that will be in the show notes. I do encourage you to check it out. And I'm not saying buy our stuff, I mean, unless you really want to, but I am saying check out the platform, because if you're interested in like moving away from eBay, or maybe just finding a way to supplement the income that you've lost from not being able to sell as much stuff to the US, BidRush could be an option for you to boost some of those local sales. And I do have a referral link as well that will save you on the fees. So you'll pay 10% fees instead of 12% fees if you use my code Storage Warrior. So that's also going to be linked in the show notes. I'm really liking BidRush. It's easy to use. They have great client support. It's uncomplicated. They and we still need a bigger audience. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, my mailing list, even though there's 3,500 people on it, I wasn't utilizing it well. It was pretty dead, had low engagement. So we're only getting about a 25% maybe open rate on those emails. And so a few hundred people, and then a small percentage of those are clicking through. So it's not like driving huge engagement to the auctions. I need to work on that for my business. BidRush needs to work on that for their business. They're a new platform, only been in existence for like 3 months. So I knew that going in, that we were both going to have to work a lot on audience building. So, I'm confident that it's going to grow over time. And as it does, we'll be able to start putting more valuable stuff into those auctions, just like being confident that a larger audience will see it. We put some silver coins in this last auction, and some of them did well. Some didn't, and there were a few that didn't sell, which was a complete shock to me, considering if you're following what the price of metals is doing these days, precious metals, base metals, all the metals, it's pretty nuts. So I was surprised that we were still left over with silver at the end. And that just tells me that it's a factor of there not being quite a big enough audience yet. But I'm confident that we're going to get there, probably, in the next few months. And as we get closer to Christmas and more people are shopping, they should see our stuff, and I think we'll do a little bit better. So, um, yeah, I'm hoping that Q4, fourth quarter, brings some gift buyers. People will still be there buying Christmas gifts, and hopefully a few more people come and make some of those large purchases. We really need those to ensure that we break even, and ideally profit a little bit. We will have a couple of warehouse sales. So if you're in Vancouver, make sure you're on our mailing list at Storagewarrior.ca. Just scroll to the bottom and add your email. If you're on the list, then you'll receive notices about those sales. And you can come to them and get some pretty cool stuff for super cheap, because our warehouse sales are true blowouts. People always come and they're like, I can't believe you could be selling this on eBay. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. Yes, buy the $30 thing for $5 or $2. I don't care. I love warehouse sales. Just get rid of the stuff. So we're going to do a couple of those, maybe coincide them with auctions, so we can like try to combine some of these different audiences that we have and say like, hey, you came to the warehouse sale. Maybe you'd be interested in this auction, give them a little flyer with the QR code to scan, and hopefully Bob's your uncle. So, we're going to start to work on some of those more creative marketing activities, which, to be honest, we didn't focus much on marketing at all for a lot of years. And I guess that's kind of detrimental now. We just relied on eBay's marketing tools and the size of eBay's audience to really sustain us and make it so we didn't have to invest a lot of time or money into the area of marketing. And that's biting us now, I think. I really think it is. So that's okay. That's the work that we need to do. to bring the audience to figure out how we're going to shift things and become more sustainable going forward. Now, we did talk about paring down inventory, and I think I mentioned that in the last podcast. So we haven't been sourcing a lot, but the funny thing is, like, even though we're not sourcing a lot, we're still sourcing more than we're processing and selling. So, like, I don't even know that our inventory is actually declining. It's it's very frustrating. So anyway, we're gonna give that about 6 months. We talked about experimenting with this stuff until Christmas. I think we should give it a couple months beyond Christmas because we all know Q4 is a little bit different time of year for buyer behavior. So maybe January, February time, we'll reassess and see, and hopefully we've been able to have some profitable months. Um, and we'll be able to figure out what we're gonna do moving forward because I still feel pretty directionless. Like I posted that in a reseller group that I'm in. Like the the feeling I have is just like, yeah, it's just like I don't know what direction we're going in anymore. Like I started this podcast. This podcast was about like, is it possible to make $1 million in a year reselling? Like that was the whole premise. And to be at that position where I'm like, okay, what do I have to do better than break even? It's just it doesn't feel good to me. And these are supposed to be high earning years for us. And like I said, this has become a real part of what I'm about and how I present in the world. So it just feels a little bit strange to not have that super motivation and that clarity on the direction that the business is going. But you know what? I know that that's not my fault. But we can look for ways to find our path again. And just because I don't know what that looks like today doesn't mean that I'm not going to see it, a few weeks or months down the road. And I'm just trying to maintain that confidence. And hopefully you can too, because I think there's ways out of this. I can't really see what they all are at the moment. But there's glimmers, right? There's glimmers. So that's just how I'm feeling. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you this week. I'll have another update in a couple of weeks and we'll see. Maybe I'll be feeling good. Maybe I'll be feeling absolutely terrible. Maybe the world will have imploded by then. I don't know. Everything changes so quickly, but I'll try to keep you posted on what's going on with us. And of course, I would love to hear what's going on with you. So please leave a comment. Let me know what's going on with your reselling business. What are you changing? What are you doing differently? And if you have questions, like I said, not that I feel like I have all the answers right now, but sometimes just talking things out in a forum can be helpful. So if you're not sure what to do and you're thinking maybe I should do this or that, and is it a good idea? Like pop a comment in there and let's just chat about it and see if we can't push each other in some more positive directions. Don't forget, subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. You can get that at businessofreselling.com and make sure to follow, subscribe on youtube.com/at Storage Warrior Podcast. I'll add this in. Don't forget, we're always buying. Hook us up with a great pick in the lower mainland of British Columbia and you will receive a gift. We will see you next time. Happy reselling.